This is the first time that I've run it, but Mike's been running a version of this. This is actually the third annual, so he's done kind of a smaller version for hospital staff and for local fire and EMS that he either ran out of the hospital or out of the firehouse. But it was much more informal and much smaller. And this year was the first time that we ramped it up and had an accreditation with University of Nevada School of Medicine, so that we were able to give continuing education credits to various levels of providers, from techs to RNs, all the way up to surgeons. So they're getting education credit for this. And then at the last minute, through some friends down in Inyo County, we were able to give continuing education credit to paramedics and EMTs as well, so the EMS personnel could get involved. And as I say, it kind of came together at the last minute for some of that continuing education credit. So the good thing is that we know we have that in place for next year. So we're definitely inviting any EMS personnel, anybody who needs continuing education credit, to come out and get involved. So it's a 3-day seminar. You had the option of signing up just for the first day is essentially the didactic day, which is a long, grueling day of PowerPoint lectures covering a whole range of items of what you might encounter in a disaster scenario, all the way to what sort of anesthesia would you need in a disaster scenario, sterilization techniques, and then a lot of subspecialty mini lectures on ultrasound, on imaging without electricity, various ways to be effective in a mass casualty disaster scenario. So day 2 is kind of breakout sections where we had smaller groups of 4 to 5 people rotating through 7 different stations and learning how to operate on the ultrasound, learning how to build a field hospital, learning how to do triage, talking about medical illness and disaster scenarios, vectors of disease. And then today, which was the final day, day 3, we come together as larger groups. So the whole thing is broken down into 3 groups of 13 to 15 people, each of them being treated as basically a medical platoon. And then we take them through 3 stations and run a disaster drill. In this case, it was a 9.0 earthquake, probably something like in Turkey. And the teams are rotating through. The 3 stations are, the first one is building a field triage hospital out of whatever's available. So they've got a very small, limited pile of supplies, some solar panels, some tools, some camping gear, some tarps, and then they're using whatever they can find in the landscape to build a hospital. The second station is a triage station where they're working with actors who are they've been given cases beforehand, so they know that there's a pregnant woman with a gunshot wound who's concerned about her daughter. There's an intoxicated football coach who's threatening to sue if he doesn't get seen. So that the doctors get to feel really what it's like in a triage situation. How do you choose which patient to help first? And then the third station, they were graduating into the cadaver truck, where we had both we had cadavers sponsored by Synthes, and we had cut suit, which is a pretty fancy new technology where an actor can wear a suit that contains a lot of the vital organs and actually has blood, and that you can cut into with a live actor. So it simulates what it's actually like to work on a patient.
I enjoyed the cadaver lab the most, so really getting to interact with the cadavers and working with surgeons and performing procedures that may have been done on myself or other people over the years, and actually seeing that from the surgeon's point of view.
So they're doing that. They've had a little experience in that on day 2, but now on day 3, they're being thrown a whole lot of curveballs with smoke and loud music, and the power goes out, and trying to operate under those circumstances to basically recreate the possibility of a disaster scenario and how these teams are going to react.
Really saw things I could never have imagined.
There's very little of this kind of thing taught in medical schools. We're sort of at the cutting edge of some of this kind of training, and it could happen anywhere. This is the sort of thing we saw in the Philippines, where these disasters strike. They're not partial to. It doesn't matter what the socioeconomic spectrum is. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. These sorts of things can happen, whether it's an earthquake or it's a tidal wave or it's um, a hurricane or an explosion or a dirty bomb or a terrorist attack. I mean, it's not that we're paranoid about it, but I think we need to be prepared for anything that could happen. With the environment changing the way it is, the incidence of these sorts of mass casualty events seems to be going up, so we need to be prepared for it.
I think the biggest benefit to me of this training was that it really increased my preparedness for any trauma situation and the confidence I'll be going into those situations with.
So the next seminar, and I should have the dates off the top of my head, but I'm not sure I do, but it's the end of September next year. We've chosen the dates. The dates are online. The website is www.mammothmedicalmissions.org.
I would 100% recommend others take this. Again, I have no medical experience and feel I had a huge benefit. So everyone from the layperson to the well-trained surgeon, it's an incredible experience.